Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Find us on facebook.com/superfunpodcast, twitter.com/superfunpodcast, patreon.com/superfunpodcast, Instagram at superfunpodcastgo, iTunes at Superfun Game Review Podcast Go. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go! To my left this evening, the man who made it in just 30 minutes.
Okay.
Ralph!
Agro!
Oh my god, that was so loud.
Yeah. Nothing new with him. And to my right, Mr. Clark.
Thy next foe is... Most repeated line in the entire game.
True.
And the man who beat all 16 a month ago, your host, Harry. Start off with our initial impressions.
I was a fan of Ico, or Eco, however you want to say that.
Ico.
Yeah, Ico, sure.
ISO?
Ico. Yep. Mm-hmm. So I was a fan of that game, and when this originally came out on the PS2, I played it, beat it. I thought it was awesome then, and when I heard they were going to remaster it the first time, I was like, I'm going to skip it on when they did it for PS3. On PS4, though, I saw the visuals and was like, holy shit, I need to at least check this fucking game out. So that's what I did.
To be honest, like with this game, I wish I would have sat down maybe like one or two sessions and just like
Beat
stream. Yeah, beat off.
Yeah. Yeah, beat off.
I know I really would have liked to stream this. Like I felt like this would have been like an appropriate just sit one playthrough, but missed that opportunity. I was doing it like I was doing third shift when I was playing this game. I would beat like one or two bosses after I came home and then go to bed. But first impressions, I absolutely love this. This is the game I got for Christmas. It's one of those games that people talked about for years and I have never experienced. So I skipped the PS2, PS3 versions, went right to the PS4. I don't regret it at all. I think just coming in and seeing it, just this beautiful world, was an amazing experience of its own. Ralph.
I have always heard good things about Shadow of the Colossus for years, for a long time. I've never heard anybody say anything negative about it. And it's one of like the highest acclaimed games that I can think of. I didn't play the PS2 version. I almost bought the first remake that I think comes bundled with Ico. At the time, I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good deal, but I think I'll wait. And then when they announced another remake, I was kind of surprised. It's like, that doesn't happen very often. You get, every generation, we're just going to do it again. Like, we get the PS5, they'll do another one. It'll be 4K and UHD and everything else, and it'll be crazy details. It looks great now, but I kind of wish that I had played maybe a little bit of the PS2 version. That way I could really appreciate what I was seeing, because the game does look great. It looks fantastic, but to come from, like, I don't even think the PS2 version had a steady frame rate because of the size and scale of the Colossi. So
yeah, sorry, real quick, it did not.
Yeah,
it was very jumpy,
very ambitious for the hardware, very late generation. But ultimately, I'm glad I played it, and I'm glad I stayed to interact with and see the full ending. Rather than just, okay, done, bye, see you. I stuck around to get the resolution.
And it only took you like what? You said 45 hours?
I didn't actually check my timestamp, but I think I'm somewhere between 7 and 8 hours.
70 and 80 hours. Holy
7
shit.
and 8 hours.
Fair enough. Well, let's talk development, gents.
Game development.
I just know this was a remake over and over again, really, and they had a lot of success with the last remake, so they remade it again. But this time they actually did more of a real overhaul instead of some upscaling.
I think it was from the ground up, I read. That this is a from the ground up remake.
Yeah, pretty much. They took like the base layout and stuff like that, and then just revamped it. I mean, there are certain things that you can see some side by sides where they added detail to certain things.
Oh, sure.
But all in all, I don't know much about the development process of the next remake.
I do know a couple bosses have been cut. from the game. Not since the original, but like
Yeah,
originally making this game, I think they had an additional like 5 like really fleshed out, but they were like similar concepts to bosses that were already in the game, and I think they wanted each boss to feel very unique, different objectives to beat each boss, and like if they were to copy and paste, it's like almost like filler for that game. So I think that's why they went the route and cut some of those guys.
I don't know if it's completely different, but I read that they were going to have something like 28 of them, and what they did was rather than get rid of some of the ideas they had, they just took 2 and merged them together.
Yeah,
to
I did read that as
Colossus.
well.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's the only way you can really cut content yet still improve the game. That doesn't happen very often. That kind of creativity is noticeable.
Well, that's also when they moved it, I believe, to the hit points. Like, and when I say hit points, I mean like the points on the Colossus to attack.
Yeah.
It was going to be more of a, okay, here's 16 or here's a bunch of attacks that we like, and here's a bunch of like climbing puzzle solving that we liked. And let's just have them be like, oh, the only vulnerable spot is you have to climb to. Well, now it's like it has this behavior and you have to climb to this spot.
Okay.
Here you go. And you can't just attack it from the ground. Things like that. Sorry.
Just pop your dentures out.
I did.
Sloosh.
So one development point I did just briefly want to discuss, just to get your opinion on it. But I'm wondering, like, what else have they released since Shadow of Colossus?
The Last Guardian.
The Last Guardian.
That was their next one, was Last Guardian.
When was that?
PS4 era.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was announced, I think, in 2009, and then nobody heard anything about it, and people thought it had been canceled because there was not a demo, there was a trailer for it. And when you look at it, you can sort of see that it clearly is coming from the same studio that made Ico, and Shadow of the Colossus. And people were excited for it, but they hadn't heard anything. And then they thought it was canceled, and then they made an announcement. No, it's not canceled. And then they announced it, and the game came out. But I didn't hear much fanfare about the game. I'm thinking it's just okay. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I heard of it. It's okay. I saw a few people playing it on my friends list, so I like hopped into a party and was just asking them about like, oh, how is that? But
So the studio only has like 3 games to date, essentially. Then
I think they have 1 or 2 before Ico, but they weren't anything. I think they worked on some games. I don't think they were like the sole proprietor. Like, here's our IP.
Because I know Ico didn't get a lot of hype either,
Which is crazy because that game is awesome.
Haven't played it.
It's good. It's good. If you like Shadows of Colossus, I would suggest that. It's more adventure than Shadows of Colossus is.
Oh, sorry, the root thing I was trying to get to, though, it seems like with all these remakes, I don't want to say that they were just milking this one hit for more money, which could be apparent that they are, but maybe they don't have much in the works that they just had to keep living off of this.
Payroll. It's an interesting point.
I don't think it's a very original point, but I mean, it seems very clear that something like that was kind of going on.
There was a theory actually tied in with the remake for PS4 of Shadow of Colossus and The Last Guardian and the remake bundle of Ico and Shadows for PS3 was that they started making Last Guardian because Last Guardian was first announced, but they were like, we've been working on this for 4 years, and then they announced it, and then it took 7 years for it to come out.
Something like that.
Like everyone thought it was dead. People hadn't heard anything about it. Supposedly they stopped production on that to put out this remaster so that they could get more money for the studio to continue on Last Guardian. And Sony had to step into The Last Guardian and be like, look, we need to get this done.
Yeah.
Like, we need to put this out.
Well, let's grab that forbidden fruit and hop into story.
Story.
You don't get the forbidden fruit in the end, Harry.
You don't get the forbidden fruit.
The forbidden fruit. Yeah. The forbidden.
You don't get it.
You don't get it.
What are you talking about?
Argo gets the forbidden.
Yeah. Argo's going to be tapping that ass. That dead girl ass.
She's alive.
With a demon baby. All right, let's get into the actual story.
There we go.
I don't think I got that ending.
So, did you guys watch the really extended intro to this game where it's just kind of going through like the intro credits, but all you're really doing is riding Argo?
I watched it.
but like nothing really happens like until the end of the game.
Well,
Let's be honest.
Okay, so there's a few things that happen. You bring the girl to the altar.
Yes.
It's very obvious that this place was not meant to be used. It's very like decrepit, broken down. There's not another soul around.
The Forbidden Lands.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. It's like a really long bridge to get in there. And this demon starts talking to your main character saying, oh, if you want to resurrect her, what you need to do is you need to kill these 16 Colossus, and then I will give you the power to resurrect her.
I didn't know that it was a demon from the get-go.
Yeah, he pretty much says so up front. He's like, we Dormir or Dormir.
Now, okay, storyline wise, so this was the first thing that caught me off guard. I was like, I don't understand this language that they're speaking. Thank God subtitles are on. And I went through the menu trying to alter that. I was like, is it... Well, I think
it's a dummy... It's
it
a
is.
made-up language.
It is,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that at first. I thought it was just like default a foreign language.
It's Pig Latin.
No, it's not. It is not.
It's not.
So, yeah, it pretty much just sets up the main chunk of the game. Well, all of the actual game is right there. You go, you battle these 16 Colossi, you down them. Each one's harder, I feel like, than the next for the most part.
Natural difficulty curve.
Yeah. So once you down the last one...
Hold on. One last thing in regards to the story I wanted to talk about. He had brought... Like, the only way he was able to, I guess, summon this demon in the first place is because he had this sword.
Yeah, the sacred sword.
Which he stole.
Yeah. Which he stole, but you don't really know how he
Right.
like was made aware of it or came into possession of it. Like, specifically. Like, who did he steal it from? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, there's this very ominous...
The demon acknowledges that he has the sacred sword in the beginning. And is like, hey, you have that sacred sword. That's the only thing you can use to kill all of these Colossus. Or Colossi.
And track them.
So he kind of like points him in the direction of like, oh, kill them in this order. Anytime you kill one, I think this is important to the story. Anytime you kill one, these like ink tendrils like pop out of a Colossus and then come and like pierce through your body, and then you like spit up.
Yeah.
Like
anybody try to outrun?
Oh, yeah.
Not really.
You know, I had this weird feeling of dread with the one Colossus in the water.
The eel-like one?
Which one in the water? Because there's one that flies that's also in the water.
Yes, it was that.
I like that one.
That's personally my favorite Colossus. We'll get into it in gameplay why. But like when I killed that one, I fell directly into the water afterwards, and then it like crashed in and just nothing happened, and it was just it freaked me the fuck out. I was like playing with the camera and I dipped under the water, and then all of a sudden you just see the tentacles come up and like just like pierce through them. I was like, oh god! Like it just freaked me out because I have a fear of water that you can't see your feet in games. I can swim in it, no problem. But like in games, I just have this weird like because they always nerf the controls when you're underwater.
Water segments are.
It always just bugs me. Yeah.
I want to say that in terms of the story, that I admire its simplicity, and I'm not saying that as like a negative thing. It's very straightforward. You're trying to rescue this girl. That's your motivation. Here's your reason to go after these Colossi. There it is. Now there's the twist at the end, but
let's get into that.
Okay. I wanted to say that it was almost Nintendo-like in its simplicity, but it works, if that makes sense and is not a negative comment to say, because I don't feel that it's negative. I think it's one of the strengths of this game is that everybody knows what's going on here. There no questions asked initially.
I think something that's really interesting about the way that the story is done is it does have that old school feel where it's like they came up with an idea of what they wanted to do for the gameplay, and then they were like, okay, we're going to just throw a bunch of narrative loosely at the end of this, and then once the player gets there, it gives more meaning to what you've already done. So you don't get to think about it in the moment. You think about it afterwards. And I think that has a greater impact than just simply if this just would have been a simple ending. It's a very weird and complex ending when you really start to break it down, and you start to piece it all together. So do we want to get into the ending of the game after you down the 16 Colossi?
Yeah, I mean,
well, I think leading up to the 16th, there's, I guess, a little bit of a mild story point is when
Argo.
falls off of the cliff.
I was fucking heartbroken, guys.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no!
And then like the storm starts like right afterward. Like it's a very mood setting moment in the game. Because I mean, Argo is his only companion the entire game.
Yeah.
We should mention that's his horse if we weren't clear about
Yeah,
it.
anybody-
Argo's his horse.
Yeah, and complete story spoilers, obviously. It's our thing. But I don't know about you two. Maybe Clark, you knew because you played it.
Mhm.
You played it originally. But Harry, I don't know if you knew. I knew the plot twist
Okay.
starting the game. It had been spoiled for me ages ago.
No, I was totally oblivious to anything about this game.
So how does it make you feel knowing that you defeated the Colossi, who were basically just like
Protectors.
benign entity? Oh, protectors. Okay, that's a better way to put it. I was gonna say there were just these things out there.
Well, they're
I wouldn't-
They're
the
innocent.
They're
kind
the
of things.
spells. So
I don't know if they're the protectors. 'Cause I think they're fragments of the demon's soul.
yes, this game, essentially, the ending is Voldemort and the Horcruxes. You break all the Horcruxes to kill him, except for in this, you break all the Horcruxes to free the demon.
Yeah. Okay, so
Interesting way to put it.
the actual stone statues weren't the soul. They were almost like containing the fragments of the demon's
Yes.
soul.
Yeah.
So they're like two separate entities. So the stone colossi are actually
I just looked at them as
Quote on-
representations. So.
yeah. Well,
Well, as you started killing, you're freeing the piece of the demon.
yeah.
Because there's two key things that and again, this is all theory, this is all conjecture because it's not given to you like this. But if you start to notice, every time that you kill one colossi, one shadow creature shows up when you
Yeah, I did notice
return.
that.
You know, and then the statue breaks, and then you figure out what your next one is, and as you do it, more and more are there. So at the end of the game, when you kill the 16th colossi, instead of automatically, just like you had previously, instead of teleporting back, you're like resurrected on the ground and then teleported back.
Right.
But this time, before you're teleported back, the people that you took the sword from, like this village, I guess, these travelers,
very
something.
ominous again,
Yeah,
like-
ominous.
I was surprised to see other NPCs because I didn't expect to see them.
Right, and you never interact with them either.
Right.
You know, it's just like, well, kind of, but
Yeah.
so they all come in and they're like, what have you done? like you have like fucked up. And then they're like, well, put him out of his misery. He's cursed. Because you get teleported back after they've seen what is happening and what's transpiring.
Yep. It's too late.
I
Yeah,
think
it's-
they stab him
Yep.
originally, right?
Yeah,
He gets stabbed.
they stab
Or they shoot him with a crossbow
the
bolt.
protagonist.
Stab him.
Yeah.
Wanderer.
Wanderer, yeah.
I think that's his name.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
I think it's just Wander,
Oh, Wander.
not Wanderer.
Wander.
You're right. My mistake.
But so they stab him, shoot him with an arrow, and then he pulls the sword out and then becomes this giant shadow creature. And when he becomes the giant shadow creature, he's like it looks very like kind of thin a little bit. And then all 16 of the shadow entities that have been there before run into the back of the legs, and he becomes like big and powerful and can actually move and like attempts to smash and does smash most of the villagers that are standing there that just killed Wanderer.
He becomes a colossi, is the way I looked at it.
Essentially, but he doesn't gain like the stone armor.
Sure.
He doesn't. He has the eyes.
Yeah.
He has the blue eyes. And so after you crush them, the main one, if you remember from the beginning of the game, there's this there's like text on the screen where it's like kind of explaining some stuff, and there's the mask that slowly comes in. Do you remember that part from the beginning?
Vaguely.
I don't actually.
It's the mask that the leader's wearing.
I know it's like a very like tribal type
Yeah,
of type of
it
mask.
looks like an owl.
I don't remember the exact look of it.
Yeah, so it kind of looks like a wooden owl mask. In the beginning of the game, they're giving you kind of like some composition for the area, and then you find out that that person that was speaking to you in the beginning of the game is actually this person that is telling you like, oh, you fucked up, and like commanding the other soldiers and things like that, because he's wearing the same mask when he enters the tomb initially. So
He drops the sword.
yeah, he drops the sword in the water, and then that kind of like it creates some sort of spell that like weakens the demon to trap the demon into this well that was behind all of the statues. And you can sit there and very feebly try to attempt to jump and run and pull yourself towards the girl.
It's a little bit gameplay, but can we get into that?
What?
That sequence?
We're talking about it right now.
Okay, great. So
yeah, go ahead.
So I really like it. I want to say.
They did a good job.
They did a good job. Great. This is a great interruption, Ralph.
I'm interrupting the story.
I mean, we're literally almost right at the end to wrap up the story, and then we can maybe get into it.
All right. I think I'll forget. Forgive my interruption. So you can very feebly try to resist.
Right. So then you get sucked into the water, and it seems like it's the end. Credits start to roll, and then
what? Is there more?
Yeah. What's her face wakes up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She finally wakes up. Argo.
Did they give her a name?
No.
At all?
Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty wakes up. Argo comes back.
He limps in.
Yeah.
I was so happy.
Limps in. So then Argo starts limping over to kind of lead her out of the cave, and then you see this like baby where the well was, and she picks the baby up and carries the baby with her with Argo.
I think the baby had horns, though.
Yes, the baby has horns.
I didn't see that part. I put my console to sleep and left. So I saw.
Fucking idiot.
I saw that Argo.
Ralph.
I saw that Argo got to her and she woke up.
And he's like, "Oh, done. This is the end of the game."
That's what it's. So wait. Okay. All right. I'm taking it all in.
Wander
Wander.
In my eyes, Wander's reborn.
Yep.
And the water pulled the demon out of him and reset him as a human being.
But the horns are there.
But he has horns.
Okay. So there's what, like a maybe 15 to 20 year age gap between the two. They can still make that work once he's an adult. They can still have their romance. Romeo and Juliet can still be together.
Yeah, she'll have at least like... No, sorry, what I was going to say is like she'll at least have like 10 to 15 years before she hits menopause.
Nice.
Jesus Christ.
Nice. Okay. That gives me a different ending, a different feel. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm just saying, it's a little bit uplifting.
We gave him the extra cushion of time to beat the game, and he fucked it up.
Guys.
Real quick, I've never played Ico before.
Right.
But what I've read online is because of that ending, it's almost alluding to as a prequel to Ico.
God damn it! I was just about to fucking get into that.
Oh, because the boy has horns in that, and
Ico
he leads a woman around.
Yes, Ico has horns, and this lady that's been taking care of him for a while dies.
Holy shit.
So anything to wrap up in story real quick?
Ralph, what did you want to say about feebly attempting to get back to the throne? Or the Sleeping Beauty place?
I think I had probably the same reaction everybody did. It was like, ooh, can I do it? Can I get there? And after, a couple minutes, you realize, nope, you can't. You have to just, submit and let it happen. And...
choice words.
I'm sorry.
Or phrasing.
It breaks your will.
So the game spaces you is what you're saying.
Don't cut that for me. Cut that for everybody.
Oh, we had a Kevin Spacey, Bill Cosby reference last time.
Yes,
the
did.
one that's releasing
the one
today.
that's going to go out tonight. There is one.
That's. I guess that's fine. It's sort of it's interesting what this game doesn't tell you and what you have to sort of learn on your own. A lot of games don't do that anymore. A lot of games will pander to you.
You get an achievement if you can resist the well for X amount of minutes, though.
Oh, the time? Oh, okay.
How long did you resist the well, Harry?
It's a couple minutes. Kept doing this roll. Yeah, I think rolling is the only way you can get ahead of...
I was jumping.
Or jumping. Yeah, jumping. Because you keep doing this weird rollback. It's actually a very frustrating point in the game because you think you have to get to her body, and yet it just keeps sucking you.
You can never get to her body.
No.
You have to just get out of the...
You just call Argo and he comes in. He leaps over.
shit.
You get out into the field behind her, and you still have to just keep jumping. You have to go. That's really the end boss. Is you have to just continue doing that until you find another Colossus out there.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
The 17th or the 17th.
Yeah.
You have to You have to jump up it, and anytime you let go, you start getting pulled back to the well.
But now the Colossi are white. They're not black anymore.
Yeah.
They're white now. They have white fur. They're like a polar bear. Now it makes sense.
Yes.
It's all about polar bears.
It
Full
is.
circle.
And then the one
They're in
polar
danger.
bear is drinking a Coca-Cola. It's weird. It gets real weird.
And the calendar suddenly becomes December 25th. I don't know.
Yep.
Okay. I think that wraps up story.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yep.
Yep. Coca-Cola Bears and moving on to gameplay.
To wrap up, it's a very interesting and unique way to tell a story, I think.
Yeah, that you just have to submit to.
And let it happen.
Just let it happen.
All right, cool. Let's pop the cap off that Coke and roll into gameplay.
Gameplay.
The game, control scheme wise, is pretty simple. You're either attacking with your sword, or you're climbing and grabbing a hold of like fur or a ledge, jumping. Like there's some very light platforming that's done in the game.
I thought there'd be more, actually.
Yeah. I felt like there were more, but I might have been remembering Ico as well.
Okay.
I think the final boss had a lot of
He's
platforming.
Platforming,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I think that was like their final thing. Like, ooh, check out the platforming game. Like, remember Ico? This is where this game's going.
I got to say, probably the hardest thing to do in the game before I learned that I basically figured it out.
Controlling the horse.
Well, controlling the horse is a little twitchy. It's a little wonky.
It's awful.
And
I think-
after playing, X number of hours of Red Dead Redemption and playing like 200 hours of Breath of the Wild and like playing all these games where you have expansive, vistas and you're on a horse and it's like I'm playing this and I'm just like no. And I hated that I had to like basically kick him like 5 times before I could get him to start to move.
There's a reason for that, and I meant to mention this in development. They wanted to make riding the horse riding in this game feel realistic. And by doing that, they found that when they were studying people riding horses, they don't always listen. So a lot of times, now I heard they toned it down from the original, but controlling, they made it so that there's only like a 50% chance that when you command your horse to do something that it listens.
Wow.
So there's a 50% like failure rate.
That's awful.
That
I'm
sounds
sorry. Like
frustrating.
that's so bad. It's one of the worst horse experiences I've had in a game. No, seriously. Like there's tons of games that have you
Mr. Hands over here.
that have you like riding on a horse that don't suck this bad.
When was your
like,
first horse experience?
Yeah, there's a plethora of
Sunset
moments with
Riders?
It's a fake laugh. It's real.
It's real. No, I'm just saying, like I honestly, anytime I had to use Argo for any sort of Colossus involved thing, like I fucking hated it. It really fucking pissed me off.
The flying sandworm comes to mind for me, just because I had difficulty timing my jump. Not really so much that Argo was, but I didn't like. I gotcha. When you have to use him, it was just like an extra element, and I was like, this doesn't really work. I kind of wish I could just be on my
The
on my
flying
feet or whatever.
sandworm. Which one was that?
It's near the end.
It's not really a worm, but it burrows in the sand.
It's
and
like
then
a flying
comes up.
dragon. Like,
It is like a flying dragon.
like the Chinese myth one. You know when a bunch of the guys.
but
get
it
on-
flies. It's in the
Yeah,
air.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
got
Okay,
it's
all right.
got like lifting sacks, and you shoot them with the bow.
Oh,
And
right.
then it
okay.
brings its wings down, and you can jump on and latch on, and then climb your way up. That boss kind of stands out to me. It was a little frustrating.
That was my favorite one, I think.
Oh, yeah?
I enjoyed it. Just like the whole desert atmosphere. It's
Sure.
just like bright in the day, and just this thing is just colossal.
Oh God, Jesus Christ. No, because you were saying sandworm, and the one that comes to mind for me is the one that's like deep in that cave, and what you have to do is you have to get in front of it with Argo, and you shoot it in the eye, and it hits the fucking wall, and you run up its back and stab it.
Yeah, I remember
in the
that
back.
one, too.
That was a fucking pain in the ass because
That's
Which-
I think
wait,
that was
which
more
one?
camera problems. though.
Which one is
yeah,
that?
but
Shit.
but
It's like underground, and it's
Yeah.
like very soft sand, and the
you
only
actually
way
can sink into it into your knees,
the only way to get this thing to appear is when it chases you for a long time on the horse.
and then it slowly comes up and
oh, you got to shoot it in the eye. Yeah. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I liked that one too. Actually, I gotcha.
But it was just frustrating to have Argo going and then reverse the camera angle and then pull out your bow, and like it was just so fucking much. And if you didn't line up a nice long run for yourself, you were fucked. Or if
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
if there was like a fucking pebble in the way, Argo would like flip the fuck out or stop, and you're like taking half your health. Like,
Yeah, using Argo is frustrating. I'll say
I thought it was needlessly frustrating. Like I wish they would have updated that with the remaster and just changed that a little bit, because I mean that was a big takeaway from the game early on, like PS2 era. People were like, yeah, using the horse sucks. Like, this needs to get changed.
by design.
In its defense, though, so I think part of it is the commands of the horse, the camera of the horse, and just the general controls of the horse. Yeah, it does work against the game, but it did make some of those fights feel more epic. That it's like a tag team duo that, I don't know, just that you're
Extra
riding.
challenge.
Not extra. I
This
just
untamed beast you're riding
Just
to go
like that-
slay another.
that speed, and then you trying to shoot with your bow and arrow from the back of the horse. I don't know. It made it feel a little bit more grander of a battle on occasion.
Okay, yeah. I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I got it. But I just didn't like the fact that I had to kick him like 50 times to get him to move, to get him to start going.
There's like close to like 15 different tricks you can do on the horse as well.
Tricks.
Yeah. Like anybody stand on its back?
Yeah, I did know that.
Like there's
No.
different button commands you can put in to do like different tricks with the horse. Like I think like laying off to the one side of the horse, standing on its back, and having your bow and arrow. Like you're standing on
No,
the
I
horse.
didn't know you could do that.
It's like I think you have to like hold L2 and R2 so that, and triangle so that he's running, but then you're getting up and getting in the ready. Like it's,
Yeah, I mean that's all fine and dandy, but like you don't use a single one of those tricks in the game. None of them help you in any of the situations where you're riding Argo. Like I just think Argo's bad.
bad horse.
That's just my opinion. I think it handles terribly.
I looked up how to do the final boss because I was trying to streamline at that point, and I noticed that the person that I was watching, their health bar was a lot bigger than mine. Like I don't know. I noticed that it was growing, but I thought it was based on how many Colossi. Yeah, it was growing. The red bar was growing, but I thought it was based on the number of Colossi that I had defeated, and it doesn't seem to be the case. Is that? Can you guys tell me? Like, is that where the iguanas come in?
No.
Or how does
The iguana tails.
You have to choke the Cyclops
the one-eyed monster
to make the red bar grow.
the one-eyed monster.
So there's a couple things. So with subsequent playthroughs, it carries over your health bar. So every time you beat the game and you start a new game, your health bar is where you last left off. So not only by beating the Colossi, you get a bit of health like added to your bar. But did you eat any of the fruits in the game? In the
I
trees?
did. Yeah, I thought that was growing my stamina though.
No,
Maybe I
the
wasn't paying attention.
lizard tails grow your stamina.
Oh, I only got a couple lizards.
Well, only the blue lizard tails are the ones that do it. And there's typically
Right.
one at each shrine
Yeah, I
that
noticed
you find.
Yep.
So they're the ones that, like regular ones, just fill up your health meter, but it fills up automatically anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're a big
I think
deal.
they're also a save point.
Yes, they
and
are a save point.
I wish I had done one because I had one crash while playing this game, and it was actually in the battle with the 14th, which is the little guy that you have to climb the pillars and you have to piss him off and he knocks him down.
Yeah.
That guy, the first pillar that he knocked over and I was on the top, it was while I was falling over, which bloop, and I got a blue screen and I was like, what the fuck?
Fell too hard, man.
I didn't even fall. I was still in the air. And when I rebooted, I was all the way back at the temple. I'm like, oh my god, I should have saved at one of those points on the way, because I just thought, well, I'll beat him and I'll come back to the temple as it always happens. The save points seemed kind of pointless for me, but that's the one instance where it would have been handy to have, so I didn't have to travel the whole distance to get back to him. But yeah, I guess I didn't have the time, or did I really want to go on like a iguana hunt?
Yeah, me either. I didn't see the need for it.
Well, actually, speaking of which, I know Clark and I briefly touched on this the other day. That was my biggest gripe in the game. I wanted a reason to explore the environment more. It was such a beautiful looking world, which I'm sure we'll talk about more in graphics, but I wanted to explore in between the boss battles. And yes, I did do all the shrines and all the lizard tails and sought out like the fruit in the trees and everything, but I wanted a real reason to go exploring.
Upgrade your bow, maybe.
Something.
Different sword.
Yeah. Like there wasn't any of that in the game. Like there is an element with this remaster of like time trial battles and everything like that to unlock this like ultimate weapon and shit. But I didn't really.
What does it do? Kill Colossi in one hit? Like,
I think it's upgraded and has like different powers and
Probably minor differences.
yeah.
I went into a cave at one point and I got a trophy for like stumbling upon a
Treasure.
barrel.
Yeah.
That's I know exactly which.
That's in the forest.
Yeah.
It's a reference to Ico, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's an easy achievement to get. So, did you notice the gold fireflies in the game?
Yeah, is that not the fruit?
That is not the fruit.
Oh my god.
The fruit is up in the trees. You got to shoot it with an arrow.
Wait. Oh crap. Okay, I found like one apple early on and I never
Ate it. He just walked by.
I never
that looks
I never
delicious.
searched for anything else. I was finding the fireflies everywhere. I thought that's what you meant by the fruit.
No, the
There is no-
fireflies actually.
What do they do?
So some guy when the original Shadow of Colossus came out, I'm gonna butcher this guy. I'm not even gonna try to mention his name. But so this guy loved the game so much that he wrote this like guide online where if you want to find all these hidden areas in the game, because a lot of people would just play through the game, beat the Colossi and be done with it. But he went exploring, finding these like little niche areas and like, oh, look at this beautiful looking place that they added to the game. So in honor of this guy, they put these fireflies in the game, like all these hidden gem places that he found. So it's like a collectible for the PS4 version that you follow the fireflies and they'll take you to this very hidden remote location. And then there's like this little gold coin you can pick up on the ground that only pops up when you're standing in the exact location. And it actually does a sound through the PS4 controller when you pick it up.
I heard that.
So you probably picked up at least one or two.
Oh, I picked up a bunch of them, but I thought they were contributing to my stats.
No. That's just its own separate thing. It's a reference to this guy that like fell in love with the PS2 version.
That's a
found
crazy story.
Yeah.
That a fan affected a remaster down the road.
Yeah.
Fireflies.
Maybe
you
we should
talk about
yeah.
climbing the Colossi and how rewarding it is to defeat one. No.
I want to say we're lackluster.
Some of the bipedal ones are straightforward.
Some were really tiny. Like, how about that one where you have to use the torch?
Yeah, the little bull one.
Yeah. I think the most memorable and like iconic one, it's like the one that's on the cover and the picture and everything, is that one that throws down the giant stone sword.
Number 3, I think.
Mhm.
Number 3.
Yeah. And he's on the giant disc in the middle of the water. and
Yeah.
you're like, what the fuck is
That's
this?
such a good fight. That should have been closer to the end, in my opinion. Like, it's just, I don't know, that whole arena and the look of him and the mechanics of that boss fight are just like that. I don't know. That's the Colossus I think is on a pedestal.
Interesting.
He's literally on a pedestal. Yes,
Yeah.
you're correct.
It's interesting because in some ways the second to last one, who's like the gorilla with the club that's got like giant teeth in it, I look at him kind of as built like a gorilla. He's similar in some ways, but he's a lot less iconic. Why is that third one so? I think it's because the first two are so like vanilla, let's say, and then this is the first one where you really have to time when you can climb him, and it's really rewarding to after he smashes his club or whatever, and you climb up it and get. I just think it's when it all starts to come together. Is that third one? I think that's part of the reason, because I really like the flying one in the lake with ruins as well, where you have to time your jump and latch on, and he takes off into the air. It's just really exciting to defeat and to do the sequence of events.
I found that out by accident.
Oh yeah,
Because I went to lunge attack because he kept knocking me in the water. And I went to go do an attack. And then next thing I know, I'm riding the wing. And I was like, oh, Okay, so this is the next part of the battle.
It's so awesome. I love that battle. I like just like the verticality of it, like just how. I mean, really, like when I realized that, like, hey, I'm gonna have some extra time, I was like moving the camera to like look and like see, and like it's so fucking cool, just racing around that fucking canyon sideways on a fucking giant with like giant fucking wings, and you're like stabbing the shit out of it. It's just cool, like, and then just get knocked into the water, or like, you know, real high up. I actually ran out of stamina once and like just plummeted back, and I was like, oh man, I really hope I don't hit a ruin because I'll be dead.
Yeah.
I just splashed down into the water, and you're like, all right, I gotta get back up. I gotta fuck with it until it comes and gets me again.
So I didn't get to talk about it then. The final Colossi, what I thought was the most challenging part of the game was when you transfer from his like hand to his shoulder, and then you transfer from the shoulder to the other hand, and from that hand you have to do an arrow shot, and you have to wait for the hands to become level so you don't fall off, and so you can get all that. It's like that seemed to be the most technical, like, okay, I have to make sure my grip is all right, and this is like I'm doing these all in a row. Like it really sort of, that was like the peak of how difficult the game was. And then I found out you can just attack the hand and the handle's steady.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to do it the hard way, I guess, without doing that.
I think the hardest part there was when you were on the right shoulder, or I guess the right like upper arm, jumping to his right hand.
Yeah.
That was a frustrating point.
I just let go and waited for the hand to get close and jumped over. You were hanging on.
I was trying to hang on and jump right to it, and
Right.
I was not having luck. The amount of times I had to scale back up to that point,
Yeah.
super frustrating. And I think that was an angle, like a camera angle issue,
Mm.
because I couldn't get a good look to just jump. Like, remember when we talked about Super Mario 64?
Yeah.
And when you're doing that back jump inside the volcano onto the other pole?
Yes.
And it was very hard to line up.
That one's always
I
tough.
feel like it was a very similar situation.
Okay.
Where I just couldn't get the right angle with the camera angle. It's just very frustrating.
One of the Colossi that I did not like at all was the giant turtle that you had to flip with the geyser.
Oh, yeah.
That took some time. Yeah.
I fucking hated that. It was so fucking annoying. It was so slow, and it took forever to get, like... I can't tell you how many times I had a fucking geyser go off, and it was, like, hitting its neck or its shoulder. And it just wasn't quite in the sweet spot to knock it over. And it's like, cool, this is going to be another 10 minutes until I get this fucking lined up again.
Yeah.
It was just, like...
Because a lot of times the geyser will be underneath it, but not directly underneath it.
Yep.
And it was just like, am I doing the right thing here?
I think for every Colossus that is great and iconic, there's one exactly like that, too. Where you're just like, oh, this fucking sucks.
I didn't like the one where you have to climb on the head, and you have to, like, hit the teeth to direct it.
Yeah,
at the
that
certain...
took a while for me.
That was kind of annoying.
That reminded me of Mario 64 as well. It reminded me of Plessy,
Oh, yeah.
we have to...
Where it goes too far and not the correct direction.
The
that you wanted.
compensating, yeah.
Yep.
Like another one that I didn't think was that great was the one where you had to hide from it.
The second one?
Is that the second one?
The underground. It's underground. It's a big
And it's
Colossi,
like
but it's
punching
underground, and you have
like
to...
reaching for you.
Oh, no. I loved that one.
That one was cool. That one's kind of creepy.
Where you have to
And-
like run out and grab onto his beard and you climb up.
Yeah,
the
Oh,
side
yeah,
of
that
his
guy.
head.
Yeah.
No, that was awesome. I didn't like the one where you had to like, it looked like there were 3 Bilbo's houses or 4 Bilbo's houses.
Oh, and you have to
I
get it
think
to
that's
look into
number
one of the
4.
holes.
Yeah, and then you have to run up its back and then you just stab.
That one looked like a
stab.
giraffe in a way.
Yeah, it was weird. But I didn't think it was like that special. And I thought it was annoying because you really need to get it to like click to make it look for you. There was a lot of waiting, like a lot of useless waiting, where if it just would have been quicker, I feel like it would have just added to the game.
For that one, I actually climbed up its, like... It had
The
like...
talons on the bottom.
Yeah, it had like
Yeah.
things that were dangling, and I was able to climb up with those, and when it threw its head back, I think I just like timed a release and landed on its back. You bring up a good point, though, and it was a couple minutes ago, but I was trying to hang on to it and not interrupt you. There are 2 kinds of Colossi, I feel. The combat and the puzzle. And the puzzle ones are not as fun. Plain and simple. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like ones that are trying to combat with you, like actually fight you.
Yeah.
As opposed to ones that you're just trying to figure out and they can't actually usually hurt you. Those kind? Is that what you're talking about?
I guess, yeah. I'm thinking of the iguana one, which I had to just figure out that you have to, the one that's in the Colosseum.
Ah.
And
Oh,
you
I
have
thought
to-
that was awesome.
Well, it started to, I guess, at the end once I started to click, but initially I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? I didn't realize that I could
Shoot the glowing legs.
well, first call it so that it'll climb up. It just didn't occur to me. It was more like jump down and let's fight. Oh, no, wait, you can't do that. There are all these stairs. They must be here for a reason. The verticality, it eventually clicked. Maybe the problem is me. The problem is me, probably.
Yeah.
It just
Russian games.
I don't know. Some clearly were more puzzle based, and I didn't enjoy them as much as ones that are just a stand up fight.
Let's look at graphics.
Graphics.
Interesting category for this game in particular.
I think the game through all three phases of the original to the remaster, and then the remaster are incredible. I think they stand out as some of the best remastered collections ever. There are very few remasters that really just like nail the look of the original and continue to just like
Improve.
continue to improve it, because like they could have very easily fucked up the scaling. They could have fucked up how different the Colossi need to look from the actual landscape. There's a lot of things, because they added a lot of that stuff, like a lot of the nuanced armor and stuff like that on the Colossi. That's like newer. A lot of it used to be just kind of like shaping pieces of rock. And this, they made it a little more ornamental and a little, and you could easily fuck that stuff up and like make it look gaudy or worse. And I think they fucking nailed it. I think the game looks incredible. I have a few screenshots saved to put as backgrounds occasionally on my PS4.
I do like with the Riri in the menu.
You can't say Riri.
Oh.
But I do like in the menu, I know I pointed this out to you guys early, that they do a side-by-side comparison of the landscape from the PS4 version and the PS2 version.
I actually, in my mind, pictured that it was sort of like the Halo remaster, which while you're in gameplay, you push a button and it shows you the old sort of like underneath, and then it shows you the new when you come back. That's what I thought it was going to look like.
I don't know what you're talking about. But
Okay.
I'll just
Imagine you're playing a first-person shooter, right? And the graphics, the graphic, how great it looks is set, and then you push like L3, and it goes back to look like Halo when it released in 2001. And then you push L3 again, and it goes back to what you were playing before. Like, it's that instant to see the difference between the two. Like instant gratification. Here's how good it
that would
looks.
have been cool to add to this.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was like, and it's okay that it's not, but a little disappointed.
But now, I mentioned this before, like with the exploring. There's a reason I wanted to explore. It's because these environments looked absolutely fantastic. And I did spend a lot of time exploring, but with no real reason to. But I wanted to go down some of these trails. I just like the little walk through the woods almost. When you do come across that barrel, but you're like at a slow trot going through there. It just felt awesome, but I needed more of a reason to do that. That would have been more gratifying.
Beautiful but barren?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, in a word, the Riri is beautiful. The remake is beautiful. I also want to say that I love the design of the Colossi, almost all of them. I like the aesthetic choices that they made, and the character design. Even though some of the ones that have two legs, bipedal, seemed very similar. Like, you have to watch out for where they step for like 4 of them, and they have like the same hooved kind of foot deal. I still liked the design and the look of them all.
Let's talk sound. Bow, wow,
Bow,
wow, wow.
Music.
I think the sound design is cool. I like the music, like the very like orchestral organ. It seemed like they were using a lot of organs. Just like the
Wasn't there like almost like a lot of
Repeat tracks.
no, I don't want to say like flute, but it almost seemed like similar to Zelda with the ocarina. Like I feel like there was some like
Woodwind?
yeah, maybe like a lot of woodwind instruments.
I just meant like the scene where like you kind of transform and stuff, like the intensity was there when Wander transforms and stuff like that, and I really appreciated their use of it. I mean, other than that, it's just incoherent mumbles and roars.
Yeah. Well, it's completely absent of music unless you're in a sequence or a boss fight. Like, Wandering the Land is just devoid of any music.
I think it's
Silent.
supposed to be desolate like that.
Yeah.
There's a clear choice. This is not an epic adventure. You're not going to save Hyrule. You're in the Forbidden Zone.
Oh, the one thing I did want to mention. So the demon's voice.
Yes.
It's a blend of a male and a female voice.
Yep.
Oh,
As
like Bloodhound
Hmm.
in Apex.
Genderless.
Like Bloodhound in Apex.
Or genderful.
Genderful. Hermaphrodite.
But they're very distinct. You can hear the two voices meshed as opposed to Apex Legends. Interesting choice, I guess, for the demon, and also interesting choice that they went with a made up language for this game. Like they didn't put it in English, they didn't put it in Japanese.
It doesn't set it anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
Like if it was Japanese, you would say, okay, this is ancient Japan or something, or fantasy Japan. You know, but I kind of like the idea that it's
not
it's
rooted.
unknown. Yeah. I don't have much to say about the sound. You know, normally I would be gushing here about the music. I don't think the music's bad at all. I just it serves its purpose, and I felt that it fit the game.
Well,
I don't know who composed it. I don't have a
That's fine.
music boner for this one. Sorry.
It's all good.
Cool. Well, let's eat a lizard tail. Talk about our final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
I want to say that I always knew that this game was good from what I had heard, and on my playthrough, it delivered. I get it. I understand the appeal and the acclaim. I want to say that this game was influenced by Zelda, and I think in some ways Zelda has been influenced by it, because I got some Breath of the Wild vibes playing this game. It's not one-to-one, obviously, but I can sort of see
How Breath of the Wild would have been.
Breath of the
influenced
Wild
by
was
it.
influenced by Shadow of the Colossus, yes, if that wasn't clear, sorry. It had moments where I was like, man, this really reminds me of Breath of the Wild, or Nintendo at least saw and took some aspects here or there and sprinkled them in. So it's come full circle in that regard. But I
Just
really...
like Ralph, anytime he can relate something to Zelda, he comes in a full circle.
Jesus Christ. How deserved. Good one, Clark.
Damn
no,
right, it's a good one.
But really, normally I would question the amount of acclaim that a game gets when it's this high, but I think it delivers.
Cool.
And the remake is fantastic.
So for my final thoughts, this is one of those games I've wanted to play since probably they remastered it for the PlayStation 3. I don't think it was on my radar when it was out for PlayStation 2. But that's one of those games that just kept coming up in the media like year after year, like people still talking about it. And a game to be talked about for that long, I've got to be missing something there. So early on in the podcast, I knew at some point I wanted to play this game for the podcast. It would be a reason to get and play through this game. And sure enough, I don't regret that decision at all. Like, I'm glad I played through it, and it's not a very long journey, which, what?
Nothing. Continue.
So it was very easy to just wrap up in just a few quick sessions.
just
Shut up.
mean,
Just shut up, both of you.
you could very easly beat this in an afternoon
You
if you
beat-
really wanted to.
You
sit
could
down
beat it in
and do
30 minutes flat if you don't take a pee break.
Fair enough. Touche, sir.
Did you play it on easy or normal difficulty?
I think normal.
Okay.
I don't think the replayability is there, though. Like, I know they put a lot of incentives in this version to go back and replay it, but I think it's like a once and done type of game. Just play it through, experience it, see the story for what it is, and kind of move on.
I'm going to just piggyback onto that comment real quick.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As I beat it on PS2, and you and I were talking, and I was like, yeah, I got to like 9 or 10 Colossus. I'm not going to finish this, though. Like, because I just got bored with it.
It is a very rinse and repeat type of game. Like, you do the same thing over and over again. And that it kind of droned on towards the end. I was just like...
Too many Colossi, you think?
Yeah, maybe.
They could have made it a concise 12, and I think it would have been a lot better. Like, you could have cut 4 Colossi out of that.
That were similar to other ones, and maybe
Yeah.
sprinkle a little bit more side activities.
Like maybe some of them being optional would have been a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that reminds me. Sorry. I always assumed that they were that this was non-linear. Like, you could just go and fight a Colossi and then go fight another one or stumble upon them. I didn't realize that it was as linear as it is. And I also forgot to mention that I really didn't like using your sword to guide your path. I didn't think that worked.
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't
it was
think
not,
it worked
it was not
very
good.
well.
The
I just
la-
looked at
the-
the map and I went with that.
The lack of a map was annoying, too.
What do you mean? There was a...
Well, not to tell you where they are.
Yeah.
After the fact, the map is there.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Well, they were usually under the cloud cover. So as you're eliminating bosses, you're removing more of the clouds
True.
from the map.
I never picked up on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to go with my final thoughts. So it's tough. I really, really, really liked this game in the PS2 era, and I can appreciate it now. But if it's true that they did a ground-up remake of this, there are some things that they could have improved on from the old game that were gripes that I had with the old game that still continue now. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's a great game, and I think it's a game that everyone should play. But you'll see in my score.
Let's talk
You're
about
welcome.
our scores.
Sure.
The score.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Gush. Hey.
What I mentioned with the forbidden fruit earlier in the game. So I know you missed this because you didn't eat the fruit.
Oh, right.
But there's one, like right before the final boss, there's a little garden you can get to that has the quote-unquote forbidden fruit. Instead of adding health, it takes away your health permanently. Sorry, that's why I made the reference to forbidden fruit, not the pussy that you alluded to with the dead girl.
Living Dead Girl.
That's a good album, man.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Start to finish, man. That's
Yeah, it's
Every track.
the whole deal. Seriously, Gush. Gush, gush, gush. Go out and get it. Go out and buy it. Gush.
it's like speaking of forbidden fruit. Gush, 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 gush.
Harry, as you decided to call me out on it, yes, I think this game is a rental. Mostly because you can probably play it in a day. I think it's a good game. I think everyone should experience it, but rent it because you can. It's short, and I don't think there's a lot of replayability to it.
Unless you like hard mode challenges or whatever.
Or you're like Ralph and you can't beat it in a day.
Cool. I am going to go with a 9.0 out of 10. It's going to tie with The Last of Us.
It's the Fireflies, isn't it?
Oh, shit. There you go.
Fireflies. I'm gonna go check on Illy. She's unconscious. In a temple.
Well, I think that's going to... Sorry, I was just letting him go. Think that's going to wrap it up. What do we have next on the dockets?
Mortal Kombat!
Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over.
Thanks for listening to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Stay up to date on our Facebook at facebook.com/superfunpodcast.